Welcome, and welcome to your bedtime story. I'm Large, and I'll be reading to you Chapter 2 of this lovely book. Let's tuck in, shall we? Chapter 2. Acrobatic and juggling skills are great. When you're in a city, you can go to a market, put on your hat, and a few handstands later you've got enough copper for a half-decent meal. Out in the woods, it's a completely different story. You can't do a flip for a squirrel, expect it to share its nuts. I've tried. It had now been a week since I've left my family's Vardo. A week of endless woods unbroken by a single farm or cottage, and constant worry about my sister. What were the elflings doing to her? Was she alive? Why didn't I ask for help or a bat? Was that warthog flirting with me? This task was way too big and important for just me. I'm an idiot. Why did I head out alone? Just thinking about it turns my intestines into contortionists. Also, thanks, Mackers, for eating during this video. My cat is eating its food, but you can just think of it like it's like fire crackling. Yeah, like a fire. I clenched my sides as another cramp stabbed my gut. It had been several days since my last real meal. My empty stomach rumbled, but the endless stretch of forest only responded with the distant chirping of birds and the sigh of wind in the leaves. The lack of anything that I could ask for help was maddening. Where were all the villages? Were some woodcutters? Or better yet, their lonely daughters, carrying pies I could try to charm out of them. If I'm lucky, they'll give me a bite. And some pie, too. If you know what I mean. My stomach again churned in protest. Everyone's a critic. I plucked a few more rocks from the ground and juggled them as I walked. It helped me clear my head, as I wasn't sure exactly where I should go. The Cloud Spire Mountains were north, so I figured that was a safe bet. It was rumored that the dwarves dwelt atop them, though it was also rumored because no one could climb the massive peaks and check. I shrugged, worrying about that and everything else wouldn't get me there any faster. For now, I needed food for my angry stomach. Just to be clear, I did come prepared for this trip. I was equipped like a true adventuring hero. My backpack had a week's worth of rations, which lasted me 4 days, which I think shows incredible self-control. I also had a bedroll, Fireflint, my favorite stuffed beast, Susan. Please don't call her a teddy bear. It's just demeaning. And, of course, 50 feet of rope. What adventuring pack would be complete without 50 feet of rope? The one thing I didn't bring was a weapon to hunt with. Though even if I had, I wouldn't have been able to bring myself to actually kill anything. The only sharp weapon I like to use is my wit. Also, blood is icky. I slid out of my pack, slumped against a tree. My starving body wouldn't hold out much longer. Above me, the sun had just risen above the canopy of leaves to clearly and thoroughly display every incredible plant teasing my rumbling stomach. I tipped my backpack over and rooted around for something to chew on. My hand found a soggy sock I had filled with acorns. The nuts had been too acidic to eat, so I'd left them in the stream overnight to try to leach out some of the toxins. It made them slightly more edible, though it was a mushy culinary catastrophe. I slathered some sour pulp into my mouth. Consuming it was harder than even doing a handstand on a peeved porcupine. Tears stung my eyes, and I forced myself to swallow the lonely meal. This was it. I was going to die of starvation with no one to mourn my death but some greedy squirrels who actually like this filth. They're nuts. Okay, that was a bad joke, but come on, I'm dying. Show me some sympathy. My eyes kept watering. Worse than that, They were also stinging. I blinked, but they only burned worse. Well, at least I wouldn't be able to see myself die. I slumped to the ground. What would dying feel like? It smelled like onions. I flung my foul food to the ground and sniffed the pungent aroma. My nose is rather impressive in size, and I trust its input implicitly. I was smelling onions. The majestic smell made my nostrils twitch. It was definitely onions that were now simmering. And with garlic, too, someone was making a stew. Slobber cascaded off my chin. Heaven couldn't have smelled sweeter. I would be a crouton and plop myself right into this savior of a stew, filling my stomach in pores and dreams with its yummy excellence. Then the chef would give me a carriage and directions to the Cloudspire Mountains, and everything would be okay. Thorns cut into my arms as I chased the smell and dribbled the snail trail of saliva into my wake. I smacked branches aside and stumbled from the wood into a muddy, overgrown dirt road. Oh, sweet infant chubby-cheeked Jesus, a sign of civilization. It was beautiful. Ahead of me, a smoky fire sizzled as it consumed moist branches and licked the bottom of a bubbling pot. A small moan escaped my lips. It was minuscule. The pot couldn't hold more than 8 bowls. Now how was I going to swim in that? Low shrubs encircled the pot. Crouched before the soup, with their backs turned to my way, were 3 lovely, curvaceous women. Well, not everything was bad. A small smile won over my grumbling belly. Finding the road, food, and women? Talk about a killer threesome. Everything was turning up medium. I ripped a branch off a tree to help stir the pot. Sauntering out of the woods, leaped into a one-handed cartwheel and spun my stick like a ringmaster's baton. Showing off goes great with every meal. Hello, ladies. They started to turn my way, but the bushes opposite the pot rumbled, and a man lumbered out. He was massively tall, of course. He had to be taller than me. That's okay, I told myself. He probably hits his head a lot. In his hand, he clutched a thick wooden spoon, which he was swinging like a club. He punctuated each sweep of his utensil with obscenities. He wasn't just after soup. He was on a rampage. I had to save the stew. And the ladies, of course. If I could. I froze. I had no idea what to do. How was I supposed to save my sister if I couldn't even handle this? Maybe I could get him to back down by making him laugh? I brandished the branch in his general direction, and my voice cracked faintly as I squealed, "Unhand the stew! This is the stick-up!" Tall man saw me and shrieked, "My hero!" The branches drooped in my hand. "Your what?" The ladies turned to face me, and I gagged. They were hideous. Mud splattered every inch of the flesh that wasn't a jumble of crisscross scars, the quantity of which balanced out by the shortage of their teeth and their scowling faces. Their curves were actually rippling, plow-horse-esque muscles. The tallest one was missing an ear, and the other an eye, and the shortest one lacked a sizable
portion of her nose,
which had been reduced to little more than a bright purple scar. Each of them held large, rusty, curved swords. These women were the ultimate butter faces with some extreme butter knives. The tall one missing an ear, "These woods is ours. No little chicken crosses the road until we gets what we want." No-Nose chuckled, "And you're just cute enough to eat." The final bandit squinted her one eye. "So how's about we carve up a little purloin soup?" I shuffled back. I look much better in a salad. I can really pull off a fig leaf look. "For now." The one missing an ear lunged forward and sliced off the tip of my stick. I immediately did 3 things. I shrieked like a little baby, turned, and, while still screaming, ran. "Goodbye, ladies." The tall man huffed. My hero. Now, before you start judging me, I wasn't being a coward. I was playing hard to get. Another sword stabbed after me. I leapt, and it barely missed skewering me right between my legs. I never have been happier to be an acrobat. I flipped over a fallen log, dove beneath a patch of thorny brambles, and somersaulted with the speed of only a boy who would like to retain his defining parts could manage. I aimed for the least accessible parts of the woods. Despite all this, the women were hot, close on my heel. I didn't want to get stuck with them, or by one of them. In all the years I'd spent chasing ladies, why hadn't I taken an hour to learn how to avoid them? Why are you trying to kill me? I dodged beneath another hissing sword strike and nearly fell into the dirt. What the heck? What had this strange spoon-wielding oaf done to anger these ladies so much? Also, why the heck wasn't he helping me? We don't want to leave witnesses, the one-eyed panted. To a soup thief? I wheezed. Now, silly boy, No-Nose teased. Good habits come from repetition. If we let you go, the ear-deficient one hissed, then we'd be setting a terrible precedent. Word would get out that we were being soft. Being a good bandit is all about having consistent public relations. A solid murder-to-treasure ratio. And a big thrustable sword. No-Nose laughed at me as I barely ran fast enough to avoid the rusty point of their massive weapon. This is crazy, I screamed again. I'm not proud of it. I may have also peed a little. Help! There was no one there to help me, though. Just endless trees towering overhead. Then again, maybe the trees could save me. Ahead, I saw a stand of tall, fluffy pines whose emerald branches waved in the wind. I knew I could climb and swing higher than those ladies could. Yes! I screamed. Ask for help, and you shall receive. Thanks, universe. I sprinted as fast as I could. The moment the branches were overhead, I flung myself into a round-off. My feet punched into the ground, turning forward momentum into upward lift. Twisted, and one sap-covered branch smacked into my raised hand. That's my cat. My cat's pooping now. This is far less like a fire. I mean, it has a lot of smells. We're just gonna wait this out. Are you done? I used every one of my acro-hardened abs to flip my legs overhead. The wind was icy against my thighs as they kicked nearly into a split, and I climbed even higher. Behind me, the women gasped. The name's Medium, I chuckled. When you tell your friends about this, I wouldn't mind if you say I was taller. Oh, gross, one ear nearly retched. The rest gasped to a stop. Gross? I frowned. That was amazing. Maybe not the best form, but... Ah! It's the evil eye! One of them shrieked. It looks angry! Another wailed. Well, there goes my appetite! The tallest grumbled. What are you talking about? Again, I felt that chilly breeze against my legs. I looked down to find that my pants were ripped in a big way. The road-weary fabric had decided to yield without consulting the rest of me. I was still standing in a raised leg split, flashing a face full of fanny. Thanks, universe. Make it stop, the girl with the eye patch demanded, before I lose my remaining eyeball. One ear slapped her partner in crime in the back of the head. Stop squealing and start carving. Thank goodness that was out of reach. Good luck, girls. The ladies rushed forward with their sword held high and began chopping down the tree. I squealed and struggled to climb high enough to leap to another pine, every muscle and tendon cringing. If I didn't escape, their swords would prove upon my posterior just how much mightier they are than the pen. As I scrambled higher, my pants ripped even more. "Oh, come on," I cursed. That's when things got weird. Over the smacking sounds of their blades cutting the tree, there was a strange angelic twang of a harp, followed by a deep rumble, the thunderous belch. In that moment, at my time of desperate need, what followed that belch was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. A massive horse stumbled and thrusted its way through the underbrush. Never before or after have I seen equine excellence that could be its equal. The burly, butter-faced ladies looked like tiny children beside him. His coat was light blue with a mane so thick that it stood up like a great mohawk. Corded muscles rippled along his flank, to the point that he appeared to have 2 thighs on each of its legs. The ladies spun to face the steed, their weapons moving as one in a terrifying dance. The horse was clearly strong, but against these swords he'd be helpless. "No, don't hurt him," I begged. If they harmed the strange, beautiful creature, I'd lose it. Why couldn't they just be lovers instead of fighters? Then again, loving them might be worse than stabbing. The horse wasn't scared in the least. As he hiccuped and reared onto his back legs, a single shaft of light slanted through the canopy of leaves above. It fell upon the horse's forehead, revealing a sparkling horn that jutted from his magnificent mohawk mane. He was a unicorn. Was he going to try to spear the ladies? The stallion slammed back to his feet and burped in a deep, round, quivering boom. A rainbow burst forth from its mouth. The prismatic light crashed into the murderous ladies, tearing the back of their undergarments out of their pants and towards heaven. I gaped at the unbelievable display of magic. The unicorn wasn't done, though. He charged, his horn spearing through their majestically extended undies. The ladies howled, pelvic pain. Mr. Unicorn reared, and the ladies were yanked by their underwear to shrieking heights. Cheered him on as he inflicted the mother of all wedgies. The one missing her ear got the worst of it. She was wearing a thong. Mr. Unicorn tossed his head and sent the ladies tumbling through the bushes. They crashed back to the ground with a solid thud, dropping their swords and crawling away into the woods. The one without an ear moaned, "There goes our chances of getting into the ruffians weekly." I rubbed my eyes, but he was still there. This supernatural beast had saved me. Why did he show up? Was it my screaming? I thought unicorns could only be found by those pure of heart. Was I pure of heart? I'd never seen my own heart, thankfully. But I did do a lot of running, so I bet it was really strong and good-looking. Heck, if I was into hearts, I'd take mine. Thanks, I quivered as I took a deep breath and forced my voice to come back under control, as I'd heard that the secret with animals is to not show any weakness. I hoped that worked with unicorns, too. You know, I could have taken them without you. The unicorn neighed and shook his head. What? How do you know I wasn't luring them into a trap? The strange unicorn horn gazed up at my pants, rolled his eyes. Next he turned into a small pack that the robbers had dropped. He nuzzled it open, pulled out a bottle, then used his teeth to pluck out the cork. He flipped the bottle, caught it in a raised mouth, and chugged the liquid. He belched again, then looked at me. I was frozen in place, and I wasn't about to startle him by moving. The unicorn nodded at the ground. When he did this, there was a faint jingle, and a sizable tag hung around his neck. I chewed my lip. If I come down there, will you... I fluttered my hands. Magically assault me? You should know, my pants are already ripped. He neighed, shook his head, and laughed. It was creepy. My whole body quaked, but not because I was scared. I was shaking from the cool breeze against my backside. I sighed, thinking my sister needs me. With great caution, I climbed down the tree. The unicorn kept his distance, pawing at the bag until a bag of stale rolls came out. He bit the bag open, gulped down a roll, and then tossed a slobber-covered bun into my hands. I was so darn hungry, my nose wrinkled at the spit dripping from the roll, but I still bit into it. He neighed, "Bro, did you just call?" Couldn't help myself. I chuckled and took a bigger bite. He shook his head with pleasure. While nibbling, I cautiously leaned in and spied his tag. It read, "Hello, my name is Biff. If found, please return to the fraternity of fawns, centaurs, and steeds at Mishwinkle's menagerie of magical and mundane beasts." Biff, huh? The unicorn turned to me eagerly, his long tail swinging. "So, you're a long way from home, too." Biff winked at me. Man, this creature was weird. "Do you want to go back home?" Biff nodded vigorously. I chewed my lip. "I don't have time for this. I needed to save my little sister." "Well," I said with a sigh. "Which way is home?" Biff turned north. "That's where I'm going too. This could be all right. I could get out of here in these woods way faster on a horse's unicorn's back. Also, if I passed any of those woodcutters' daughters, they'd be so impressed they'd just have to hand their pies over. Let's see someone call me forgettable medium now when I'm riding on a magical steed. I guess we could team up. Every hero does need a steed." The horse inclined his head in agreement. "And every steed needs a human." Biff huffed, making his lips flap about, and raspberried me. "Oh, come on. Okay. Maybe you don't need me, but it is convenient. I have thumbs." I wiggled my digits, then grabbed the bandit pack and untied the clasp of the main compartment. My eyes sparkled at its contents. I reached in and plucked out a large, juicy apple and took a big bite. Biff stomped forward. "Whoa, I thought you didn't need me." Biff dipped his head and glanced away. I was going nuts, and I'm having an argument with a unicorn. I shook my head and tossed him the apple. Biff swung his head and caught it, then crushed the juicy fruit between his massive molars. When he smiled, bits of apple clung to his white teeth. I fed him another apple before he lowered his front legs to present me his shoulders. "All right," I cheered, climbing up. "Let's get you home." "Yah, Biff, yah!" I kicked my heels to his side, and Biff stood stock still and burped, causing a small rainbow to dribble out. "Oops. Sorry about that, man." He looked back over his shoulder and rolled his eyes. He didn't move forward. "What are you waiting for?" I asked. "I bet you can outrun any stallion around." What was I missing? Biff was a unicorn, and from a fraternity. There was one thing no one from a fraternity could resist. "Biff, Biff, Biff, Biff," I started chanting, getting louder and louder. "Biff, Biff, Biff, Biff!" The air split with a sharp boom as he rocketed forward, his Herculean hips bouncing like a jackhammer. Every ounce of water was ripped from my eyes as the wind tried to slow us down. It couldn't. Cloud Spire Mountains, here we come. That was Chapter 2. On to Chapter 3 for more mischief.